Sports Show. And joining us now from outside the practice facility of Cleveland Browns is the Hall of Famer. It is Kay Cabot of Cleveland.com.
Mary Kay, happy game week.
Hey guys, how you doing? Good to see ya.
We're great. We've been talking about so many different issues. Let's start with the injuries because obviously Denzel Ward with the concussion protocol, and we're worried about that. We all kind of think that he's going to go. Juan Thornhill also on that list. Can you add anything to about those two guys for Sunday?
Well, first of all, Zach Taylor just said Joe Burrow's starting. Now, that's not a big surprise because we expected him to start. So, Joe said himself on Wednesday or Thursday that he was ready to go and he was going to play. But as far as Juan Thornhill and Denzel Ward, was just out at practice. Juan Thornhill was not practicing for the second straight day. It sort of flew under the radar yesterday. It seems like everyone kind of missed this. I put a headline on it. I thought it was significant. And I still think it's significant. Today was his second straight day out of practice. And, he is one of the starting safeties and really good at what he does. And you do not want to play this game without him when you're going against Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd. So hopefully for the Browns, he'll be back. He brings so much. He brings energy in the back end. He brings, the ability to take the football away, to get some interceptions. So we'll have to see what goes on with that. Denzel Ward, he was out there practicing again. I don't know if he's going to be cleared from the concussion protocol in time to play in this game, but he certainly has been practicing on a limited basis at least, and I'm sure they'll do everything they can to try to get him out there.
Mary Kay, what are the have you spoken to the players yet today already?
No, we're going to be we've got Kevin coming up at about 12:50, and then we get the players right after that.
What do you expect the reaction to be to Jamar Chase's comments yesterday?
I think they'll be pretty low-key publicly about that, but you can bet that, as Greg Newsome said yesterday, he keeps the receipts on those kinds of things. So these guys are going to use that. You're looking for anything that you can get for motivation for a game. And for Jamar Chase to to say he thought about calling them the elves, them some fighting words. I mean, it's kind of playful and fun. I'm sure he wanted to do something to try to spice things up a bit. It's been a little bit of a quiet week. These guys will accept that challenge. The Browns will come out and they'll be disrespected by this. And, they will do whatever they can to get themselves up for this game.
Mary Kay, what do you make of the comments that Deshaun Watson says that he's tired of talking about, 2019 and 2020 and that he can be better than that? Before he kind of said, I shouldn't be mentioning those, ranks because I haven't played in 2 years. But it seems like he's gaining more and more confidence in what he's going to be able to do on the field as the days get closer to the game. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think he's been pretty consistent with what he's been saying. He told us last year a couple of times that he doesn't want to be the quarterback that he was in 2020. He wants to be better. So when he said that again this week, I didn't take that as news because I had heard it several times before. But in terms of feeling that he doesn't deserve to be up in those rankings, he's using that as fuel. He's using that as motivation. He likes it when he gets a little bit dissed like that because it helps him get his game face on. So I think once again, he's keeping the receipts and he's going to use these things to go out there and try to show that he is still an elite quarterback.
Mary Kay, we played a game earlier where who's your X factor on offense and who's your X factor on defense. And I'm just curious, how would you respond to that? Who's the X factor for this Browns offense this season? Or what, Mikey, was it? I don't even know. Is it for Cincinnati or for the year?
No, it was for Cincinnati.
Oh, for Cincinnati.
But they couldn't be Deshaun Watson or Miles
It couldn't be Deshaun
Garrett.
or Miles, and Jay and I can't read that part and both picked Miles, apparently. But for this game, X factor offense, X factor defense.
That's a really good question. You know what? I am going to say Amari Cooper. I'm going to go with Amari Cooper because I think that Deshaun's going to try to hit him on some big plays. We saw them hit a 53-yarder together in the season, the preseason finale against the Chiefs, and they want more of that. These guys have looked really good in practice together. I'm sure that Elijah Moore is going to be a huge factor in this game, and I could have picked him as well. But for right now, I think I'm going to go with Amari Cooper.
Mary Kay, Jerome Ford, we know he's good to go. What do you expect his role to be, or any of the other running backs' role to be in this game? How much of a role will we see from those guys?
Well, I think Jerome Ford's role may have been a little bit more than what it could possibly be on Sunday, only from the standpoint that he missed most of training camp with a pulled hamstring, and he's just getting back into the swing of things. So, I don't know if he's 100% ready to go for the kind of duty that they wanted to give him. But, we'll have to see how that plays out. We've heard a lot of talk about Nick Chubb, that they're going to use him more on third down, that he's going to get more passes out of the backfield. And if he does, then you won't need Jerome Ford as much as you used Kareem Hunt in those roles. But I asked Alex Van Pelt about this yesterday, and he said that Jerome Ford is ready to step up into that third down back role and do whatever he's asked to do.
Mary Kay, we've heard so much talk about expectations for the Browns offense. I've heard folks closely connected to this team tell me that offense is going to be completely different. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be off the charts. We showed none of it in the preseason. To me, that just heightens my expectations. That, to me, sounds like we're going to see a Kansas City Chiefs or Buffalo Bills offense. What are your expectations for this offense? And how good can they be if everything gels and everything comes together? Can they be a Buffalo, a Kansas City, or a Cincinnati? Or is that just way too big of a leap for right now?
No, I think they can be that. I did talk to Marquise Goodwin about that just yesterday, and he was saying, there is no limit on what we can accomplish. And from a talent standpoint, I agree with that, but it has to come together. It has to, you have to put it out on the grass. You have to do it against a defense. Everybody has to show that they can mesh well with Deshaun. He's got to get back to the level that he played at in Houston or better. And I think they have the opportunity and the ability to be a very explosive, high-octane offense. I mean, why not? They've got it all. They've got the quarterback. They've got the receivers. They've got the tight ends. They've got the offensive line. They've got the running back. I mean, they have every single thing that you need to be an excellent offense. I have a feeling that it's going to look pretty good.
Well, Mary Kay, one guy we have not heard of is Nick Chubb. We've heard of him actually, a lot in the past, but we have not heard from him in the preseason. Is he going to be a big part of what this offense is going to do moving forward, especially in this game?
Yeah, I think so. Whenever you have a talent like Nick Chubb who can run the ball the way that he can, and now he's going to add more catches out of the backfield, I think he'll be a big part of this game. They're going to be running a lot of different things. They're going to be running more RPOs, all kinds of different things that we necessarily haven't seen in the past. And I think he'll get his touches. I think he'll get his runs. I think he'll get some catches. And, when you have a weapon like Nick Chubb, you're going to use him.
Who do you think is going to be inactive in terms of the wide receivers, Mary Kay? Is Tillman definitely active on game day Sunday?
Yeah, I think he'll be active on game day on Sunday,
Okay.
because he does give you that different element of that big body wideout that you would need. So, I think most of the receivers will be up and active. Some of them are going to be used, obviously, also on special teams. Donovan will be used as a punt returner in addition to catching passes on offense. So I think that most of the wide receivers on the roster will be up.
Mary Kay, we talked about this earlier in the show, and G and Jason went a little back and forth on it. Is this the most excited Browns fans have been for an opener, the most anticipated opener since they've came back to Cleveland?
I don't think so. I have felt this before. When Baker Mayfield, was first here, those were like really, really hyped up, exciting years. The year after they made the playoffs, everyone had such high expectations that year. So I can't honestly say that this is number one in terms of excitement.
I'm just saying I've never seen Browns fans this cocky heading into a season. I haven't in the years. You've been covering the team longer than me, Mary Kay.
You fell and hit your head because they're like this every
Yeah,
September.
I remember walking into the stadium on the home opener against the Titans.
Yep.
And
but the
I
Titans-
was walking on clouds. And when I left, I felt like I'd just been hit by a
But
bus
at
that I
least
never
you
saw
got
coming.
You got hit by Frederick Charles Kitchens.
That's exactly. He was the bus driver.
Is there a difference between excitement and cocky? excitement
Yes.
is like, oh yeah, this is good.
Yes.
Cocky is like,
There
oh
is.
no, we
And
can't
that
play.
was against the Titans, who were a nothing team. You're playing one of the best teams in football.
Last year,
And
the defense told us they were going to be top 5, maybe number 1.
We had Jacoby Brissett playing quarterback. Nobody thought they were going to be that
The
good.
defense thought they were going to be exceptional.
Well, the defense going to think whatever they want. I mean, we all
Well,
picked them
we
to go
saw
8-9.
what they were. They
All
were
right,
not
Mom and
exceptional.
Dad, stop
Yeah,
fighting.
I
Mary
mean, I
Kay,
just-
I'm with you. 2019, they were lined up the night
Yep.
before to get in the Muni lot. They were lined up on the
nuts.
streets and screaming Super Bowl and.
Now, all of that being said, I think what we did say at the start of the show, and Mary Kay, you can weigh in on this. I think this is the most important
No doubt.
Yes.
season
That I agree with.
since the rebirth, because even though there were expectations there, we were still relatively in the honeymoon stage. We're a different quarterback regime removed from that, and everybody in the organization put all their chips in the middle of the table on this quarterback. This is a massively important home opener. But I think there's been more excitement around home openers. Do you agree?
Yeah, I would say that that this is probably the most important because of all the money they spent on Deshaun Watson, of all the draft picks they spent on him, and this is his first full season. This is the beginning of the Deshaun Watson era, and this is supposed to be the quarterback that can take you to the Super Bowl. So in terms of it being most important and most money spent, most draft capital spent, I would say that there's the most pressure on this season than any other.
Yeah, and it's wild to think of. This is his first first season opener in 3 years.
Yes. Dustin Hopkins.
Yeah, D-Hop.
I don't trust this guy at all, Mary Kay. I don't know why. I still don't understand why they haven't signed Robbie Gould. He's still a free agent. He's way better than Dustin Hopkins. Why have they done this, and will they correct it if he screws up kicks in the first couple of weeks?
Well, they're not going to tolerate someone who's missing kicks. So, this is what they felt was their best chance going into this game. I don't really know why they didn't sign Robbie Gould. We'll have to see. What we do know about Dustin Hopkins is that he's excellent from 49 yards and in, not so great from 50 plus, 15 out of 30 from that range. And so it does change your game plan, and it really does impact what you're going to do when it comes to making a really long game-winning kick or otherwise. So, we'll just have to see how this works out. And again, he's only been here for a couple of weeks, so if he doesn't work out and they have to pivot, they'll do so.
I guess it doesn't matter now, but I'm just curious. Do you think that Cade's last miss against Kansas City cost him the job? Do you think that was the one that put it over the edge at the end of the game? If he missed that kick,
I would say maybe the whole game. I mean, missing the extra point the way that he did and just hitting the ball the way that he was doing that day, I think that was a huge factor, that he just was going in the wrong direction in terms of the way the ball was coming off of his foot. So that last one was the nail in the coffin, but there were other nails for sure.
tell the train to quiet
Yeah,
down.
the train passing through the parking lot.
Planes,
Thanks.
trains, and automobiles.
So
out
who
here
you
in
got
Berea.
winning, Mary Kay? You want to predict the game?
Yeah, I'm picking the Browns to win this game just because I think I made that pick last night before Joe Burrow went out and got his $275 million extension. He's going to be fired up. He's going to be in a great mood after all that. But I just feel like there's going to be something about this Browns defensive line that is going to try to make his life miserable. And the Browns seem to match up pretty well against the Bengals. So I am going with the Browns in this game, 31-28.
Wow,
Oh,
it's very
there
close
you
to
go.
what I have.
Thanks,
you,
Mary Kay.
We
appreciate it.
93 minutes in. It's the first mention of the contract extension.
Yeah, that's
from Joe
true.
Burrow.
Thanks, Mary
Mary
Kay.
Kay, thanks. Great stuff as always.
Take care. Thanks, guys.